let's talk about this Compton TG situation. Now, when you call yourself a good standing individual who from the gangland, come from the streets, I feel like you should never relay no messages from a person who's not in good standing about anything that's really a street matter. You know, when I say a street matter, is whatever that takes place between what come from the streets, whether it's in the prisons, jails, street, alley, whatever. You know, when we talking about gang politics and all that, and it's a matter at hand, and a person is up on trial, that should only be being delivered from a person who's in good standing. Now, can a person who's not in good standing know the truth and choose to speak on that however they want to? Yes, they can. But people who's in good standing should not indulge in that. That's just in my opinion. Because see, when you break certain rules, it's certain badges you gotta wear. When you have a dishonorable discharge, when you got all these things that's, no integrity, just a part of your character based upon you signing up for certain things, and then you don't fulfill your oath, then you are no longer a credible source, even if you are telling the truth. I just don't agree with that. And I feel like it be so many people that if you catch them on a good one, they will brag or talk about how much Compton or LA or Compton, Long Beach, Watts, whatever, they will talk about how much of that they are. You know what I mean? So with that being said, people should definitely be able to do their own homework and do their own research. And then once you gather that information, you get back on your platform and you spill however you want to spill. But it comes from you, an individual in good standing, instead of you relaying messages about a person that, it could be true or not. Or if you do the facts and it is true, then just run your content speaking on a person who's in violation as well. Not trying to run your content as a uplifting individual in the lifestyle through a person who done broke the morals and trying to highlight another person who breaking the morals, right? That's how I look at it. And I don't know if that's like because people want to hide behind the content, like they just covering the content, they know how the streets go. Like certain people is definitely gonna still rock with Compton TG based upon him having motion. All you gotta do is come back to the streets and have a good song and video or something like that, and he's gonna be back in motion, because we live in the times to where motion carried the most value. It's no longer about how much time you put in, no longer about the good deeds you done put down. It's all just about your momentary motion. So at the end of the day, and that's not for everybody. And I'm not saying that just exists now and it never existed before. But we talking about like in this day and time, it just really carries so much more value, right? And I know everybody don't operate that way, but it's a large majority that seems to do. So to me, you also probably have caught certain clips of people who associate themselves with Compton TG, who done called all these dudes who have like covered the Compton TG situation, called them all kind of polices and all that type of stuff. Other fellow podcasters in this space, have jumped in comments and all that type of stuff, and they pretty much second what people who associate themselves with Compton TG spilled out there. So it's gonna probably get tricky when he come home for people who done got on here and spoke a certain way about him. I don't know, I'm not necessarily saying that people are afraid, but I'm just saying it could be a possibility for a person to like speak behind a person who's no longer in good standing on the yard. You get me? That's my get down. Now, when it comes to me, I didn't want to really speak on here until I got like a couple reliable sources getting back at me about what they can gather based upon what's going on in that environment, in that same yard and prison that Compton TG is in. So what was brought to my attention, and we like to always keep it to Benji, and I was not there, so I still cannot deliver everything to y'all as a fact. But the information that I gathered, I do feel like, they gathered some, for the most part, accurate information. But still, just to keep it a Benji, we gotta always put it out there. Like, you just can't really stamp things as a fact unless you like witnessed it yourself. That's just the case. You just don't know. If you was not there, you just don't know what's always true. But I'm gonna break it down to what was brought to my attention, and let's keep going. So what was brought to my attention is that Compton TG is in there getting high. When you start getting high, the respect goes out the window, right? Now, through all the little responses that I heard Compton TG speak on, I haven't heard him speak on the form of anything pertaining to the whole disrespecting the neighborhood name or anything like that, right? I only can go off of what he have said as far as what took place with the altercation, because that's the only get back. Not get back, but that's the only he's the only person who spills a situation of what took place from the root. From what I gather from behind the scenes, I just only know what took place between Compton and Watts and Compton TG and how they not really rocking with his get down, right? So, like I said, getting high and all that, the respect go out the window. Compton TG didn't speak on nothing pertaining to the neighborhood name and all that stuff. At least if he did, I didn't catch it. So I don't know if that was actually accurate or what. But off of what he did say himself, somebody fired on him and proceeded to run. Now, maybe Compton TG was dazed or whatever. I don't know. But you have two scenarios, right? You got one side of the fence scenarios to where, yeah, you can take a loss, people can get the up on you, you can come up short, but people really gonna be judging you more on your response to what took place, right? That's one side. But then on the other side, it's some situations to where everything gotta happen right then and there. And that's what people gonna care about the most. And I just feel like Compton TG should have proceeded to try to chase that dude, or he should have tried to let some type of level of activity take place and get active. And that would have led his homies to where they had to have his back as soon as possible. It would have been some type of level of response because he would have been an active homie who got cracking, who's in good standing. And he got dealt a bad hand because he's in a space where it's a large population of these group of individuals, and it's a minor population of individuals who's directly rocking with him. Now, it's always a certain level of an underlying issue when it comes to Compton people in LA, dudes. We're not going to stretch on that topic too much, but if you a student of the game and you also have been going through certain channels, then you definitely understand that it be some underlying issues when it comes to that get down, between Compton and LA. Then also, if it was some neighborhood disrespect going on, and I don't know what would that have called for if he was sitting in there and he's around 100 people who from neighborhood, whether they not from a neighborhood that he cool with or not cool with, but he around people who represent neighborhood. I don't see why he would find it appropriate for him to say any type of disrespectful remark to something, to that slogan. You know what I mean? Based upon everybody gonna feel offended by it. And yeah, you can explain it and clear it up however you want to, but it's probably gonna be certain people who feel like, you supposed to have enough respect or enough fear to never let that slip out your mouth. So we're going to give you a level of consequence to where you could definitely be willing to think before you ever, address that slogan in that type of manner, right? And then also certain people is talking about, if he was disrespecting a dude from Compton N Hood, right? Now, obviously, yeah, if he got at a dude who was from Compton N Hood and he didn't handle his business and he got disrespected and the dude from 60 and them had to do something before the dude from Compton N Hood, then obviously the dude from Compton N Hood would definitely be in the wrong, right? But Compton TG didn't highlight nothing like that, and I didn't get no information that aligned with that from behind the scenes. And another thing people have to understand too is that Compton N Hood and neighborhood CRIP is two different things. Neighborhood Compton, neighborhood CRIP is two different things. Neighborhood Compton CRIP, that's original set, started in the mid 70s. That was the neighborhood set, in hood set before 98%, or you know what I'm saying, maybe 99% things that groups that identify themselves as neighborhood Crips didn't even identify themselves as a neighborhood set at that time. You know, didn't have that slogan attached to their group, right? That title, name, however we gonna word it. So that's original set. That is before any, you know, hustler against gangster or any of those type of things even became a topic of discussion. You know what I'm saying? Neighborhood Compton Crip, they run with Compton, Crip, and Watts members. Now, do you run across certain neighborhood Compton Crips that be influenced by neighborhood Crip dudes from LA and all that type of stuff? Yes, you do. You know, that's just their choice. You know, that's just what they choose to do. But that go back to what I be saying in certain videos, like, just because you really from where you from, that don't mean you understand gang politics. So you might have somebody who been from neighborhood Compton Crip for a long time, but they still don't understand gang politics, so they might operate wrong. You know what I'm saying? They get down, and conduct is wrong. You know, like in Compton, neighborhood Compton Crip wear orange, right? Blue and orange. The original hat for that would be the Houston Astro hat, right? Same thing like a Hoover, right? But this don't even come from Hoover. This is just, like I said, these is original set, mid 70s, right? For those that don't understand what original set mean, it's like original set is like pretty much anything pre 80s, you know, like 79 before that, you know, like a set that's started, you know, in the 70s, you know. That's like considered original set. So that's why I keep saying that, like, have their own identity, stuff like that, you know, not something that was like a Tiger Crew set and then converted into something or whatever that may be, you know, just different things, like but anyway, also in Compton you got Nutty Block Compton Crip, and Nutty Block Compton Crip is who represent the New York Yankee hat, right? That's who represent that. They always represented that for a long time. They always represented that. Why neighborhood Compton Crip represented the Houston Astro hat. Then you move, and also neighborhood Compton Crip represent they hand gestures the same way you would throw up BPS, Antisport. I mean, I'm sure y'all get it, right? Like that hand gesture, right? That's what represents neighborhood Compton Crip. You know, in Compton gangs is identified by like 2 letters, or sometimes it don't be getting identified by the first letter, but it'll get identified by the second letter, based upon some of the sets in Compton having the same lettering in it, right? So things have changed around however it go, right? Like neighborhood Compton Crip is not originally a N gang. It is originally a H gang. You know what I mean? And that's why the H gesture with the hands was in place, and that's why people was wearing the Houston Astro hat a lot. And then you move forward, it started leaning more into like a N gang, right? Start putting the H more on the back seat. Never removed the H, never became an H whack out type of gang, never not stopped throwing the H up, but just put that more to the back seat, and the N start becoming more the front seat. And with that transferred over into wearing the New York Mets hat, right? The New York Mets hat, same as the Houston Astro hat, blue and orange. So when you go to Compton and you see a Yankee hat, off of Compton politics, gang politics, a Yankee hat represents Nutty Block Compton, and a New York Mets hat or a Houston Astro hat represents neighborhood Compton. So I just want to clarify that, because certain people don't be, you know, understanding that and don't be getting that, you know what I'm saying? Moving forward, Compton TG homies, and they're not feeling it. And that's just pretty much to sum it all up. We don't got to sit here and make it no longer than what it actually is, but that's the get down. Y'all got to be mindful on who y'all look up to out here. A lot of people be upset because they be easy bamboozled. they be out here trying to ride the wave. You know, they be want to attach themselves to anything that's just got some motion. It don't even matter about if a person authentic or not. They just be trying to attach themselves to the motion. So when that happens, guess what? Bad things occur to certain individuals with their name. Then people want to rush out here and try their best to smut people out, or not even smut people out, but just, you know, speak down on individuals to try to keep themselves in a good light after, you know, they done associated themselves with these type of dudes themselves. And I'm sure it's gonna be more coverage pertaining to this. He's kind of like a popular guy, so to speak, you know, in the Los Angeles streets. So we definitely gonna see what happened, man.